Absolute carnage in Hyderabad. Here we are on MPL Presents Cricbuzz Live to try and make some sense of what happened there. But first, to try and make some sense of our predictions, let me just put quickly into context. We have a 40-run window in which to possibly get it right and have one of us sitting on that MPL super couch. But not only did we get outside that 40-run window, we got outside it by 41 runs. That's how far away we were, and that's how far away it really was from the RCB bowlers, because it was absolutely magnificent from the two of them. First, let me come to the scorecard. 231 for 2, as I said. 190 was the outside of what we were thinking, and the bowlers wouldn't have expected it. The crowd, even the most partisan in the crowd, wouldn't have expected to see only the second instance in IPL history that two men have been on the other side of scoring 100. And guess what? AB de Villiers and Virat Kohli did it the first time with bat in hand. This time they were there to watch Johnny Bairstow and David Warner do it for the Sunrisers Hyderabad. Let me come to JB first, and I've got two men in the studio, one who's got the same initials, but the other with the Yorkshire context. Michael Vaughan, what an innings, what a day for Johnny Bairstow.
Oh, incredible. I mean, to see an England player light up the IPL, he's the third English player now to get a century in the IPL, following Kevin Peterson and Ben Stokes. But Bairstow's story is a remarkable one. When you think, 20 odd years ago he lost his late father David Bairstow, the ex-England and Yorkshire cricketer, to suicide, and came through the Yorkshire ranks. It was 2009. I retired because of Johnny Bairstow, and Joe Root were coming through the second team at Yorkshire. Heard these names mentioned a lot. I'd seen them around the team a few times, and I remember having a difficult day at Worcester, and I just thought these lads should be in the side. I'm not really doing the game service at that time. He came to the side, struggled for a while, then he started to hit the ball as he's done today, just in a consistent fashion, got his England place, struggled in Test match cricket, lost his place in the Test team, then came back and was a real high class, and is a high class Test match cricket, but certainly 2 years ago he was so consistent in Test match cricket. And then he got his opportunity in the white ball game. When you think you've got Jason Roy and Alex Hales, to dislodge one of those two was a feat in itself. He dislodged Alex Hales, and he's just been so consistent at the top of the order, just playing strong cricket strokes. And I look at cricket in this era of the game, and you think of three-dimensional players where you think you have to bowl, bat and field. Well, I'd add another dimension to that. You've got to be fit. You look at the aspects of Warner and Johnny Bairstow today, the running between the wicket, the fitness levels, running in 40-degree heat. So there's a fourth dimension that we don't speak enough about in this era of the game, is that you have to have your fitness levels to a very high standard, and those two today were an absolute key to that.
42 degrees out there in the middle, and it's probably even hotter right down on the middle. 13 twos between those two. More was scored after that. Let me ask JB about JB. How often can we talk about a partnership like this and want to play second fiddle?
Oh, absolutely. And 19 twos, that's a testament. And what Michael was saying just before we walked in, that this man hasn't played competitive cricket for a year. I mean, how difficult is it to be fit? And the strangest thing is, you think by that time he's winded, he's had it. Did you see his century celebrations? He was running up and jumping as if he's just running to the field. So it's incredible fitness, and it's very, the way Johnny Bairstow dominated in the beginning, it's very difficult for a batsman like David Warner, who's naturally an aggressive batsman, to play second fiddle. But he did it very intelligently. And he knew that when he was giving it the go, and that's the interesting one. He gave it, he allowed him, and I was watching the strike rate. It went from about 145, it's come up to about 181. It went up to a 190, and then it dipped again. It's very interesting. He paced his innings, he allowed Johnny Bairstow that time at the top, saying that, okay, you're dominating it right now. And he was still scoring at a healthy 140, 130, 140 clip, but it wasn't the 200 that, Bairstow was at that point in time. And that, I think, is wonderful when you're a cricketer who's so aggressive, and yet you can control yourself when somebody else is hitting it better.
I think that's the worry for the World Game, particularly with the World Cup coming around the corner, is that you've got players like Gale, David Warner, Bairstow. They're actually realising that it's not every day you can go out and strike it. It's not every day that you can clean it in the middle of the bat. But there's days when you go out like David Warner today, that Johnny Bairstow, his partner, was striking it, probably getting more opportunity to do so, and he played second fiddle. But then he caught up at the end to get a magnificent century. And when you get players with that amount of ability and that amount of power, also playing with real smartness, it's a real worry for the opposing teams.
And but just in the context of the World Cup, you're saying if you're an Australian fan looking out to this, you're watching the IPL, you're seeing David Warner getting this 100, you're keeping an eye at Australia in the Middle East, 4-0 up, and almost 100 partnership for the opening partners there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good kind of situation that Australia are finding themselves in, but Warner is a certainty. He's just, you can see that whatever he's done in that year, he's come back and got a point to prove. You know, he's got plenty of points to prove. He's fit. You know, his game is tremendous. You know, I wouldn't back him being the most, back against him, should I say, being the most valuable player in the IPL, and I certainly wouldn't back against him being the player of the tournament in the World Cup as well.
And Joy mentioned that celebration. Yes, it was the energy that he kept for that, but I think it meant a lot to him. That was what part of the celebration was about.
Well, you know, when you've had time out of the game, whether it's through injury, whether it's through suspension, you know, that first century back, you know, it means so much because you've had 12 months to dream and think about potentially getting back out on their field. There's always a question mark in anyone's mind. Probably not so much in David Warner's because he is confident, but he'd have had doubts over the last year whether he'd be able to hit the ball like he's done so quickly back in the IPL. He had a little bit of a time in Canada. He's played a little bit elsewhere. I think he played a bit in Bangladesh, but got injured there. Played some nice innings, but doing it on this stage, under the huge spectacle eye of the IPL with billions watching around the world, I think that today was the message. As much as they did it in the first two games, to get the 3 figures, it's the message to the rest of the world that Warner's right back.
Is there a danger for him being banned by the Bowlers Association now? Is there such a thing?
They'll be looking at the rule book. Come on, there must be something in there.
I'll tell you what, there'll be many bowlers around the world hoping he picks that sandpaper out of his pocket again because they'll want him banned again. He's playing too well.
Certainly is. And just let's remind you of that record between the two of them. Of course, it was Warner who loves playing against this particular opposition, but this is that new record. 3 consecutive 100 partnerships, and it's never happened before in T20 cricket. Of course, it all started with that partnership against the Knight Riders on the 24th and followed it up against the Royals, and then here at home again against the Royal Challengers Bangalore. But 3 magnificent partnerships, 185 of just 98 balls. But let's remind you again, we talked at the start of the show, 7 out of 8 innings against the Royal Challengers Bangalore. David Warner has got a 50. Now make it 8 out of 9, even though he's converted this one into 100.
Absolutely, it's just an amazing consistency. I think it just doesn't show the RCB bowling attack in very good stead, but you know, scoring them with the Chinnaswamy is one thing. Scoring them on a ground like this, which is a fairly large ground, and you haven't had too many 200 plus scores. If you look at you know, Chinnaswamy, you've got a lot of 200 plus scores, small ground, altitude, the ball flies. But scoring it out here it's remarkable, absolutely remarkable.
Now, Michael, as part of all the topics that we wanted to discuss, no matter what the score was, we were going to talk about the over-reliance on AB de Villiers and Virat Kohli. The problem is when you're chasing 232, you kind of have to rely on them come what may, and then hope everybody else contributes as well.
Well, you just got to hope that they produce what Warner and Bairstow have just done. I was disappointed with RCB. I have to say that... all right, when you come up against quality like Bairstow and Warner, sometimes you can just sit back. Like today, I guess, particularly after about 6 to 8 overs, there's not a great deal you can do. They've got their eye, they've got the range, they've got the conditions, they've got the pace of the pitch. But, you know, I just don't think the RCB team were aggressive enough. I thought they allowed them just to kind of strike it. All right, you've got a 16-year-old leg spinner making debut. It's always going to be difficult for him. But, you know, you look at Umesh Yadav, and so I didn't see them bowl enough into the armpit of David Warner. I saw it just land on the plate. You saw Umesh Yadav's first ball to Warner, right on the plate, straight down the ground for 6. It's too easy. You've got to be aggressive. You've got to be aggressive as a fielding unit. You've got to be aggressive as a bowler, and you've got to think wickets. Because when you come up against those kind of players, if you're just thinking to restrict and you get intimidated, which obviously you can do because they're powerful players, but I didn't see enough in terms of aggression from the RCB team.
See, I have one more belief. I believe Gary Kirsten is a brilliant national team coach. But they're very different roles, being an IPL coach and a national team coach. The IPL national team coach has a team for 8, 9, 10 months a year. He has a chance to bring in new talent. He has a chance to develop players. There's a lot of time. I believe an IPL coach is more a manager. You get a certain amount of resources. You don't have very much time to train with them. Maybe 7 days, 3-4 days with the international players. 3-4 nets you'll get during the tournament because it's a long. So to get that happening, you need a coach who just, it's like a man management. This is what I have. I don't have enough time to improve too much. But within that, I've just got to make these pieces fit, and I've got to be very sharp and smart. It's not about, you know, long-term nurturing, because what is long-term nurturing? Any bowler, Rai Burman, he's spent 3 nets with me, in 2 months he's gone. So I believe they need to be more switched on, and I think strategy-wise, they tend to sort of follow the pattern rather than lead it.
Now, Michael, just coming back to Johnny Bairstow, we already talked about the fitness levels with the 2s, but just throw in the heat. He did mention straight after the innings when he was spoken to, and he said don't think I'm superhuman. I'm absolutely cooked in that heat out there. A little warmer than down in Yorkshire.
Well, a little bit of it warmer than Leeds, yeah, where he's brought up. He is a fit lad. You know, when he was a youngster at Yorkshire, even when he was around 30, he was at Leeds United, so he was a very, very good footballer. He was also involved in the Leeds rugby team, so he could have been a rugby player, possibly could have been a footballer, and he chose cricket because of his love of it. You know, so he's always had a very, very strong base of fitness, but he works so hard on it. When you think about it, he's a keeper. You know, he has to do all his keeping work, he has to do all his batting work, and then he has to do all his gym work. And, you know, a message to any young cricketer out there, girls and boys, that are thinking about potentially taking cricket up as a career, it's not just the cricket that you have to work hard on. You have to work extremely hard on the weight aspects of making sure that you're pushing some weights to get some strength, but also the fitness levels and the cardiovascular to make sure that you can survive like Johnny Bairstow and David Warner has just done for an hour and 30 minutes in 40-degree heat, pretty much sprinting. That's what they've done for an hour and 30 minutes. They've hit the ball into the stands, which takes a little bit of effort, and then the next ball they're running quick twos. It takes a huge amount of fitness, so it's a lesson to everyone that if you think you're going to be a cricketer by just having ability to play the game, throw the ball, bowl the ball and hit the ball, you'll only get to some level. If you want to get to the top level and be the best in the world, you've got to be fit.
By the way, since you mentioned Leeds United, just a reminder, your boys are playing against them very shortly.
Yes, they are, Sheffield Wednesday, and let's hope they do some damage on them.
3 points away from getting into the top 6.
Yeah, we're a bit light. We've played a couple more games than the other teams, but it's Sheffield United that are third in the league, which worries me. I don't want them to go up, I have to say.
Yeah.
I get too much stick in the Sheffield kind of area. Blue versus red.
Well, I mean, I wonder what's going to be easier for Sheffield Wednesday to qualify for the Premiership next year or for RCB to get over the line here.
RCB getting over the line is always tough. Thing I want to say is again, today I'd be devastated if Parthiv Patel walked out to bat. Today is the day. Now they have to. With what's happened now with 230 on the board, you cannot allow a makeshift opener to go in the first 6. It has to be your best batsman. Virat has to open. Virat and AB would be ideal because you've got to give them the best possible chance of making it. Okay, if you can't do that, at least Virat and Moin, I'd be really surprised to see Parthiv walk out.
Let me check Cricbuzz live. It says Parthiv Patel has walked out there.
I don't think that's a good sign for them.
Yeah. They're only reporting. Don't shoot the messenger. That's the decision from Gary Kirsten and Kohli.
Yeah, it's not a big decision.
But yeah, I mean, no matter what, whether it's Parthiv or not, I mean, they really are up against it. Add to the fact that they've lost 2 on the bounce, and you were saying this is the game they had to come back. You know, it's mentally amounted to climb.
Well, it's a nightmare when you're chasing this kind of total because you feel that you have to try and hit every single ball for 4 or 6, and I guess down the back end you'll have to, but you know, if you look at the Sunrisers, well, 59 after 6 overs, 60. So you've just got to look to get to that kind of figure, and then you've got to get a couple of players that are in. Clearly, you've got to run between the wickets, smack the ball as hard as you can, and you'll have to have that element of luck. Warner had that element of luck early when he tried to work one on the onside. It just looped to just past cover point. You know, if that had gone to hand, who knows what the story would have been. So to get this target, which is near on impossible, I'm afraid Virat and Nabi probably going to need 3 figures each.
Yeah, but before that, you did get part of your wish, Joy. You didn't get to remove Parthiv Patel, but you did get Moeen Ali pushed down, and Shimron Hetmeyer has joined Parthiv Patel to open the batting. So they are thinking different, maybe not quite the way you wanted it.
Yeah. Look, I have good for them. I hope they do something to change up and this thing. My only problem is why are your 2 best batsmen not opening when you have a target like 230 and you have no time to waste?
I'll say this. They're into the 3rd game of the IPL. And they've had 3 different opening partnerships. Surely this gets sorted before the tournament. You don't go into the 3rd game and have 3 different openings. It's like your base level of who's going to be your opening pair. You look at the Sunrise, all right, they're an experienced team, but you know exactly who's going to open the batting for them. I just see other teams, they're just tinkering too much, and all that kind of work and preparation and planning should have been done pre-tournament. And after 3 games, you've had 3 different opening partnerships. I think there's an issue there.
Yeah, listen to the man who knows a thing or two about captaincy. Well, I'm not sure if we're going to really talk predictions here because I somehow suspect that we'll all be on the same page in terms of the Orange Army getting up there. If they don't, it's going to be an absolute cracker and we will have a few records to talk about at the end. Could it be another Caribbean connection getting them off? Shimron Hetmeyer following in the footsteps of the likes of Chris Gayle and Andre Russell from the Kolkata Knight Riders. We'll see you for Cricbuzz Combox in the 10th over, and then MPL presents Cricbuzz Live to try and wrap everything up after that, halfway through this double Sunday header.